In today's video we will talk about the extremely famous Black Dahlia case that happened in 1947, but until now the culprit has not been found. This is a very famous murder case, and there are many mysteries behind it. Watch until the end of the video to learn more about this horrific case. At 10:00 a.m. on January 15, 1947, Betty Bersinger, a housewife, was walking along Northern Avenue in Los Angeles when she discovered a strange humanoid object lying on a vacant lot on the side of the road. When she first saw it, Betty said the object was so white she thought it was a mannequin. But upon closer inspection, she realized that it was the naked body of a dead girl. Soon after, Betty immediately called and informed the local authorities. The victim's body was found to be that of Elizabeth Short, better known as the Black Dahlia. The Los Angeles Police Department was able to identify Elizabeth Short's body by her fingerprints. The name Black Dahlia is probably derived from her jet black hair and black clothes. Elizabeth's body was found cut in half at the waist, and there were a few small parts of her body that were also cut off. Although brutally murdered and disfigured, Elizabeth's body did not have a single stain of blood. This meant someone had to clean the body before leaving it on Northern Avenue. At the scene, the killer left a bloody sack and a footprint between the tire tracks of a car near the crime scene. An autopsy on January 16, 1947, was performed on Elizabeth's body. The marks on her body showed that this poor woman was bound and brutally tortured, and her cause of death was asphyxiation and brain hemorrhage. Police then began an investigation in the hope of finding more information about the victim. Elizabeth moved to Los Angeles in July 1946, and she worked as a waitress while trying to become an actress in Hollywood. During that time, she found her ideal life partner, Matt Gordon, an Air Force officer. The two had a beautiful love and promised to become husband and wife when Matt returned from war. However, those promises were just words that could not be fulfilled, because Matt passed in battle and could not be reunited with his lover forever. Elizabeth was so heartbroken, she locked herself in her room and mourned for her lover. Grief after the death of her lover, Elizabeth began to engage in quick one-night stands with any man she met. The last person to see Elizabeth Short alive was Robert Manley, and also a lover of hers. On January 9, 1947, Robert drove Elizabeth to the Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles. The two said their goodbyes at 6:30 p.m., and that was also the last time Manley saw Elizabeth. It had happened in a week's time since Elizabeth's arrival at the Biltmore Hotel. During those 7 days, Elizabeth had a fateful encounter with the murderer who took her life. On January 24, 1947, a suspicious envelope was sent to the Los Angeles appraisers. The envelope included a letter written in letters cut out of newspapers and other handwritten contents, along with Elizabeth Short's personal belongings, including her birth certificate, business cards, pictures, different names written on a piece of paper, and an address book. All of this was cleaned and disinfected thoroughly with gasoline in the same way that Elizabeth's body was cleaned. According to the police, most likely this envelope came from the perpetrator. Police have also contacted about 75 men whose names appear in Elizabeth's address book, but most of them are just acquaintances who have no close relationship with Elizabeth. After an autopsy of Elizabeth's body, authorities believe the culprit was someone with medical background. So police questioned people at the USC School of Medicine, which is located close to the site point where Elizabeth's body was found. But after questioning and searching, they still could not find anything that would help the investigation go any further. Although efforts to find out the truth have gradually faded, the public's interest in this story has not abated. The unsolved murder of Elizabeth Short has inspired various books and films, the most famous being The Black Dahlia, a fantasy novel published in 2008 created based on Elizabeth's case. During this Black Dahlia assassination, there were many suspects suspected as the real culprit, including Leslie Dillon, then a 27-year-old hotel employee, an aspiring writer, and was a late employee of the funeral service. Leslie became a suspect when he sent a letter to the Los Angeles Police Department psychologist Paul de River. In October 1948, Leslie expressed a desire to be able to write a book about the Elizabeth Short case while also expressing her perverted and violent natures. He suspected that his friend Jeff Connors was the perpetrator of the Black Dahlia assassination. However, after correspondence through letters, psychologist Paul de River believes that Leslie Dillon is the one who really caused Elizabeth's death. The two then agreed to meet to talk more about the incident and go on a trip to find Jeff Connors, according to Leslie. During this trip, There is an undercover cop named Omar posing as a driver as well to protect Paul de River. During the trip, the new psychologist realizes Jeff Connors doesn't even exist. This further reinforced the suspicion that Leslie Dillon was the real culprit when he shared a lot of details that only Elizabeth the Short's killer could know. He also appeared to be very knowledgeable about the area around where Elizabeth's body was found. Leslie was later arrested at the Los Angeles police station and interrogated. But in the end, Leslie Dillon was also released because the police could not find specific evidence, as well as Leslie's activities. And the time of the murder, Leslie Dillon did not appear in court for a number of documentary errors. But this has led many theorists to believe that this Black Dahlia case will never be solved because the police covered it up. There are many details that indicate that the culprit was an anatomist meeting, or at least having adequate knowledge in the field, because the double saw made on Elizabeth's body was sewn it. Only people in the medical profession can do that. However, after investigation, the people working in the surgical industry related to Elizabeth all had alibi. George Hurdle was born on October 10, 1907, raised in Los Angeles, California. He was very intelligent and well-educated, with an IQ of up to 186. However, he encountered many scandals related to his private life. He was kicked out of the university for sleeping with his professor's wife, incest scandal with his own daughter, and having 4 wives in his life before dying in 1999 at the age of 91. Around 2016, a retired LAPD detective, Steve Holder, found suspicious evidence about his father, George Hurdle. Steve believes his father is the culprit in the Black Dahlia case. When he checked his father's property, Steve found a photo album hidden in a box. He felt like he had just discovered something. The photo album was filled with very ordinary photos of George's mother, father, and brother. But at the back of the album were 2 pictures of an unknown young woman. In the photo, her eyes are down with curly black hair. After a closer look, he realized that these photos actually resembled Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia. After further investigation, Steve also learned that in 1947 George Hurdle had also been listed as one of the top suspects in this case. Crime scene photos show Elizabeth having had a procedure that removes the part of her body below the lumbar spine, the only place where her body can be cut in half without breaking bones. This trick is the same technique that was taught in the 1930s. When George Hurdle was still in medical school, letters sent to the press and police from the killer also bear a similarity to handwriting by George. About 8 people at the time also confirmed that George and Elizabeth also had a relationship in 1946. In 2003, in the archives of the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, a tape was found containing George's voice and accompanying documents indicating that it was 1950, while he still was a suspect in the Black Dahlia case, when George's Hollywood home was wiretapped by the Los Angeles Police Department. In that tape, George said, "Assume I was the one who killed the Black Dahlia. They can't prove it now. They can't interrogate my secretary because she's already dead. They know I'm hiding something, but it doesn't matter anymore. My secretary has already been killed. It may have been me who did it." Holder was also suspected of being the culprit in the case The Zodiac. By this time, Steve had found numerous links between the Black Dahlia killer and the Zodiac killer. He was afraid that this would go too far, and people would stop believing what he said. The story would get too crazy. Killer of Black Dahlia and the Zodiac 1 star, and that person is his father. Steve believes his father committed the murders in or near the family home at the time. Steve said this house has a secret room that George kept his children from entering, suspecting that the bodies might have been dumped nearby. Steve returned to the home in 2012 with a sniffer dog. The dog sniffed for clues to the decomposing body in several areas, and when a soil sample was taken for analysis, it was found to be positive for human remains. There are many people who have followed and supported Hurdle's almost correct hypothesis, including many people who have expertise in the field of detectives and law. Even so, after 70 years, there has not been any official conclusion to the Black Dahlia case. The perpetrator of Elizabeth's murder is most likely dead by now and will never face any legal punishment. But for Steve Hurdle, the culprit has really been found, and whether you believe it or not will be up to you. Please subscribe to the channel to uncover these mysteries. Thank you for watching the video. If you find this video interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe to receive the latest videos about science and mysteries. Goodbye and see you again.